Good morning, esteemed speakers and participants from around the world, and especially those on the internet. It's my honor to welcome you to the Global Virtual Exchange Summit 225, hosted by the School of Continuing Education at Hong Kong Baptist University, continuing the success of the summit last year. The summit of this year will continue to contribute a remarkable platform to explore the transformative power of virtual exchange in education, research, and global collaboration. For your information, this event is also one part to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the School of Continuing Education, Hong Kong Baptist University. So this is very important to the school as well. I would like to welcome in particular our distinguished opening keynote speaker, Professor Emeritus Datuk, Dr. Osman Bakar. He's on the internet. Rector of the International Islamic University, Malaysia. Professor Osman's distinguished leadership and scholarship have greatly advanced international education and intercultural dialogue. We are privileged to have him join us and share his valuable insights during the summit. In an era defined by rapid technological advancement and global interdependence, especially AI and so on, virtual exchange has become an indispensable tool for fostering inclusive, quality education and meaningful cross-cultural engagement. The lessons learned from recent global challenges have underscored the importance of breaking down geographical and social barriers to connect learners, educators, and researchers worldwide. Virtual exchange not only enhances digital literacy, but also cultivates global citizenships by empowering participants to address critical issues such as sustainability, health, and social equity. Through these virtual connections, we prepare graduates who are both knowledgeable and socially responsible and are ready to contribute meaningfully to a complex and globalized society. Over these 2 days of summit, we will engage deeply on critical themes, including quality education, digital innovation, health and well-being, global citizenship, and cross-cultural industry engagement. Our 225 summit features over 130 distinguished speakers representing 28 countries, so quite a number of countries in the world, reflecting rich diversity and collective expertise of our global community. I encourage all participants to actively engage in discussions, share your unique insights, and take full advantage of the networking opportunities, including our virtual matching fair on Padlet. I suppose that's a platform for everyone to enjoy and also participate. These connections will undoubtedly spark new collaborations and innovations that extend far beyond this summit. I would like to express my appreciation to our colleagues at the Virtual Exchange Center led by Anna, and also the Research Management Office led by Dr. Sam Lau, is also here, for their tireless efforts in organizing this particular event. I also thank our international partners and also supporting institutions whose collaboration has been vital in making this summit a truly global endeavor. In conclusion, I eagerly anticipate the insightful and impactful discussions that lie ahead. Let us embrace this opportunity to exchange knowledge, share diverse experiences, and inspire one another to empower the next generations of leaders in our interconnected world. All of you have a wonderful engagement in this summit. Thank you.
Professor Bakar.
Thank you. Professor Chung
Dean, School of Continuing Education, Hong Kong Baptist University, Professor Sarah McDonald, Deputy Vice Chancellor, Monash University, Australia, in charge of student experience and Senior Vice President, keynote and invited speakers, organizing committee members from the Virtual Exchange Center and Research Management Office, School of Continuing Education, Hong Kong Baptist University. Ladies and gentlemen, who are joining the Global Virtual Exchange Summit 2025 from around the world. Let me greet all of you, the greeting of the Islamic greeting, Assalamu alaikum, which means peace be to you. And a very good morning, good evening, afternoon, whatever you are. It gives me great pleasure, a great honor to be invited to this very important GVES 2025 with the theme Empowering Future Leaders in an Interconnected World. For my presentation this morning as the keynote address, I've chosen a slightly amended version to the theme, Leading with Purpose, Empowering Future Leaders in a Spiritually, Culturally Interconnected World. But before that, on behalf of the International Islamic University Malaysia, I would like to congratulate the School of Continuing Education, Hong Kong Baptist University, for its 50th anniversary, which has been announced by the Dean just now. Congratulations. In today's increasingly globalized and rapidly shifting world, the definition of leadership is being reimagined. No longer is leadership confined to hierarchy or geographical borders. The emerging global landscape is the increasingly complex cultural diversity that is only matched by greater information democratization. In the light of this radical change in the global cultural landscape, a new kind of cultural literacy is needed. Moreover, the future demands a new type of leader, one who is adaptable, interculturally competent, digitally literate, ethically grounded, and capable of navigating both global and local challenges with clarity, compassion, and conviction. This presentation explores the multifaceted components of empowering such leaders. We begin by understanding global trends shaping leadership, and then move on to the pedagogical tools available to educators, particularly collaborative online international learning, COIL, and conclude with the spiritual ethical framework of Tawhidic epistemology, which provides a holistic foundation for empowering leadership in an interconnected yet morally complex world. Ladies and gentlemen, global megatrends such as technological advancement, climate change, transnational migration, socio-political polarization, and regional conflicts are reshaping how leadership is understood and practiced. The World Economic Forum underscores the future dominated by automation, artificial intelligence, remote collaboration, and multicultural interactions. As industries and societies transition into digital-first and hyper-connected realities, leaders must evolve beyond mere managerial competence. They must demonstrate strategic foresight, emotional intelligence, cultural empathy, and ethical resilience. Moreover, the COVID-19 pandemic accelerated the need for leaders to adapt to uncertainty, lead without teams, and prioritize collective well-being. Leadership is no longer about exerting control. Rather, it is about enabling and empowering others across various socio-cultural and digital landscapes. This paradigm shift calls for rethinking leadership development to align with global citizenship and the values of inclusivity, sustainability, and intercultural engagement. A critical trait of future-ready leaders is intercultural competence. That is the ability to interact effectively and appropriately with people from different cultural backgrounds. According to Michael Barham, intercultural competence comprises attitudes of openness, knowledge of both self and others, skills of interpreting and relating, and the ability to engage in critical cultural reflection. In a multicultural world, where misunderstandings can easily arise due to cultural differences in communication styles, time orientation, power distance, and conflict resolution, intercultural competence becomes not just beneficial, but essential. Aligned with UNESCO's Global Citizenship Education and the Sustainable Development Goal, future leaders must embody values of respect, empathy, justice, and a sense of shared humanity. Global citizenship transcends national identity to embrace a responsibility toward global challenges, such as climate justice, inequality, and peace building. Intercultural competence enables leaders to collaborate across boundaries, while global citizenship situates their decisions within a broader ethical and planetary framework. Universities play a vital role in cultivating these capacities by integrating intercultural learning into the curriculum and encouraging dialogue, reflection, and experiential engagement, a role which our university, International Islamic University Malaysia, is currently attempting to make it a reality. Programs that promote cultural exchange, inclusive pedagogy, and ethical deliberation shape leaders who not only know the world, but also care for it. COIL is an innovative educational model that connects students and faculty from diverse cultural and geographical contexts through shared virtual learning experiences. Initially developed by the SUNY Global Center, COIL fosters transnational collaboration without the need for physical mobility, thus democratizing access to global learning. COIL projects typically involve students from two or more countries working together on interdisciplinary tasks that require teamwork, critical thinking, and mutual understanding. In the process, they navigate cultural differences, language barriers, digital tools, and collaborative challenges, essentially simulating the real-world element, the real-world demands of global leadership. For instance, a recent collaboration between students from our university and Shenandoah University in Virginia, in the United States, explored cultural intelligence in advertising. Students analyzed how marketing messages reflect cultural values and biases, and co-created campaigns for McDonald's that reflect local identities. This experiential learning honed not only their communication and creativity, but also their ethical sensibilities and intercultural adaptability. The advantages of COIL in leadership development are manifold. One, it embraces digital literacy and cross-cultural communication. Two, it fosters mutual respect and problem-solving across difference. Three, it develops critical awareness of global inequities and privileges. Four, it equips learners with the skills needed to lead distributed multicultural teams. By bringing together diverse perspectives, COIL helps students appreciate the richness of cultural diversity while comprehending its underlying unity and promoting humility, empathy, and shared responsibility, core attributes of globally competent leaders. Ladies and gentlemen, the digital revolution has altered the terrain of leadership in profound ways. Today's leaders must be tech savvy, yet not tech dependent, agile, yet grounded, inclusive, yet discerning. While digital platforms offer unprecedented opportunities for communication, innovation, and reach, they also pose ethical challenges related to misinformation, data privacy, surveillance, and AI bias. Digital leadership requires more than operational proficiency. It demands digital empathy, the ability to understand and respond to others' experiences in online spaces with sensitivity and care. Leaders must be able to moderate virtual dialogue, manage multicultural online teams, and foster trust without physical presence. Furthermore, digital inclusion must be a priority. Leaders need to ensure that technology empowers rather than excludes marginalized voices. Educational institutions must prepare future leaders to navigate this complexity by embedding digital ethics into the curriculum and encouraging students to engage with technology not only as consumers, but as reflective and responsible creators. Courses in digital media literacy, virtual collaboration, and information ethics are crucial. Institutions should also model best practices in digital leadership by prioritizing accessibility, transparency, and student voice. Empowering future leaders is not solely the task of individual educators. It is a strategic institutional responsibility. Universities must move beyond content delivery toward capacity building for global engagement. This involves a systemic approach to redesigning curricula, promoting international partnerships, and investing in faculty development. The key, in our view, the key institutional strategies include curriculum internationalization. This means embedding global themes across disciplines to foster critical global awareness. 2, COIL integration, meaning supporting COIL projects as part of course assessments and program outcomes. 3, leadership development, meaning offering interdisciplinary leadership, training, and mentoring schemes. 4, community engagement, encouraging local global service learning that bridges theory with practice. These strategies, these initiatives are part of our university's program. Higher education institutions can thus become crucibles of ethical and intercultural leadership by creating spaces for dialogue, innovation, and collective responsibility. Ladies and gentlemen, a critical yet often underexplored dimension of leadership. Let me repeat, a critical yet often underexplored dimension of leadership empowerment, especially in Muslim context, is the place and role of Tawhidi epistemology in 21st century knowledge, especially technological culture. Tawhid, meaning the concept of divine unity in Islam, is not just a theological and a philosophical axiom, but a comprehensive worldview that shapes how knowledge, ethics, and leadership are understood and ought to be practiced in a culturally diverse world. Now, as you know, our university, judging from its name, is inspired by Islam in a certain way that the university, the British University in Hong Kong, is inspired by the values of Christianity. Now, Tawhidi epistemology affirms that all knowledge originates from and leads back to God, and that human actions, including leadership, must be grounded in accountability, justice, and compassion. Leadership from this perspective is a trust, not a pursuit of power. It requires humility, sincerity, consultation, and service to others. These principles are embedded within the Quranic and prophetic tradition as exemplified in the leadership of the Prophet Muhammad, which is gaining more attention from those interested in issues of leadership. Incorporating Tawhidi epistemology into leadership education fosters, first, spiritual resilience. Leaders who draw strength from faith in facing adversity. Second, moral clarity. Decision-making rooted in ethical absolutes rather than utilitarian expediency. Third, purposeful leadership. A vision of leadership as service guided by the objectives of the Islamic law. In Arabic is maqasid al-sharia, such as justice, dignity, and welfare. Fourth, interconnected worldview. There is a recognition of the oneness of humanity and interdependence of all creation, which aligns with ecological and intercultural consciousness. To put it another way, Tawhid emphasizes the idea of interrelatedness, interdependence, unity, and interconnectedness. In practice, this means embedding Quranic values and prophetic ethics into leadership curricula, promoting reflective practice and moral reasoning, and encouraging students to align their academic and professional aspirations with broader spiritual and social responsibilities. Tawhidi epistemology does not reject modern leadership paradigms, but complements and deepens them. It transforms leadership from an instrumental role into a sacred duty, empowering future leaders to act with integrity, wisdom, and accountability in a complex and interconnected world. As we look forward to the future, the need for leaders who are interculturally competent, digitally agile, ethically grounded, and spiritually aware has never been greater. Education, particularly higher education, must rise to this challenge by cultivating leaders who are not only globally literate, but also morally literate. This is a shared responsibility. Educators must reimagine their pedagogy. Institutions must rethink their structures. Students must rediscover their agency. And leadership itself must be redefined, not as dominance or control, but as responsibility, vision, and service. In the words of the Quran, Islam's sacred book, indeed, God commands you to render trust to whom they are due, and when you judge between people, judge them with justice. Let us empower leaders who embody justice, compassion, and unity in all they do. That's my keynote speech. I wish the GV is as 2025 a great success. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor Bakar, for the enlightening presentation. So may we, because we know that Professor Bakar it will be very busy afterwards, may we also ask him to stay for 5 minutes for the Q&A section. So may we ask if you have any questions, please propose in the group chat, and you may also propose here.
I'm very sorry I'm not able to be able to respond
Okay.
to questions
Yeah.
because I have to another very important engagement.
Understand. Thank you so much already. So we sincerely thank for your participation in Summit and be our opening keynote speaker. Thank you so much, Professor Bakar.
Thank you.
We're honored to have you. For all of you, we value your opinions. So we will be sending the feedback form soon. So thank you so much, Professor Bakar. We are honored to have you as that. We know that you're busy for another engagement, but we are very happy for you to join us today already. So we value everyone's participation and your opinions. So we are sending out the feedback form, and we will also show you a QR code. So please provide us a feedback, and please don't forget to leave your requests for the collaborations on the matching palette. So please wait for a little while. We will have another upcoming keynote speech delivered by Professor Sarah McDonald, Deputy Vice Chancellor, Student Experience, and Senior Vice President from Monash University, Australia, in 5 minutes. So see you guys very soon. And thank you once again, Professor Bakar.
Thinking speech
啊，
逐個咁 serious， 逐個
點嗰句整個公仔佢做咗佢啊，最後尾隔離嗰個公仔會嘈嗰啲幾鬼搞嘢，係啦。
佢試過真係嚟講俾人攞咗去又俾啲騙案又咁。
啲公仔好得意嘅，其實我見佢哋啲 design 嗰啲公仔幾靚。
啲
啱嘅係咪？係啦。
整咗個公仔。
係啊，條眉係好似咁樣。
Welcome back, everyone. So before we start, we want to remind you our opening keynote section from Professor Sarah McDonald will begin shortly. But please take note that all keynote and panel sections will be recorded and uploaded to YouTube to share with a wider audience. We warmly invite you to turn on your camera a little bit later for the group photo.
都 keep 住喐下吧，咁關呀？喂，你有 office 影翻個先。我哋是翻嗰個面框。哦。
So, hello everyone, welcome back to Global World Changing Exchange Summit 2025. After Professor Bakar's enlightening speech, we are honored to have another opening keynote joining us today from Australia. So we are honored to have Professor Sarah McDonald to join us today. But before that, we would like to invite another respected leader from our School of Continuing Education, Hong Kong Bakar University, to deliver the welcome remarks. May we now invite Dr. Amelia Lee, Associate Dean of School of Continuing Education, Hong Kong Bakar University, to join us. Thank you, Dr.
Good morning to our honored speakers and participants joining us from around the globe, from different parts of the world, virtually and physically. First of all, I would like to thank Professor Dr. Bakar for his profound thought-provoking presentation that has provided us with a strong foundation and variable perspective as we embark on this summit. I would like to add on to Professor Chung's warm welcome to all participants here today. Your presence reflects our shared commitment to innovation, collaboration, and excellence in education. Taking this opportunity, I would like to thank again our Summit Organizing Committee for making this conference possible. Their hard work in bringing these events to life too. May I invite all of you to give them a round of applause. It is not easy to coordinate participants from different time zones and regions, especially on the challenges of the technology. Thank you so much for the organizing committee. It is now my distinct pleasure to warm welcome our opening keynote speaker, Professor Sarah McDonald. Professor McDonald is Deputy Vice Chancellor, Student Experience, and Senior Vice President at Monash University, Australia, and a highly respected scholar whose dedication to enhancing the student experience and fostering global engagement has made significant contributions to higher education worldwide. Professor McDonald's research explored the emerging field of cultural literacy and the development of research-based model for embedding cultural literacy skills into the curriculum. Today, she will deliver her keynote speech titled Cultural Literacy, Rethinking Global Learning in Higher Education. We look forward to her valuable insights throughout this summit, which will undoubtedly inspire and guide our collective effort to empower future leaders in an interconnected world. Now it is my pleasure to welcome Professor McDonald, who is joining us virtually today. We look forward to your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Lee. And may we now invite Dr. Lee to take a photo with Professor McDonald. And also, we would like to, Dr. Lee with Professor McDonald, then we would like to also invite our Dean to join for the photo.
哎呀，一成日反轉咗嘅。
唔好意思啊，好，補充咗預備嚇。OK， 好。
Thank you so much. We now also invite our SCE management to join for another photo and with our keynote speaker. May we now invite our organizing committee to join? Hold 呢個位，不如踎喺你前面算啦。咁樣踎前面，踎前面啊？係可以踎前面啫，你就咁啊？好。OK 嘅，OK 嘅。咁我就係啦，因為啱啱佢哋係啦 ，OK。OK。我呢邊，預備1、2、3。等下。3、2、1。OK。Thank you very much. May we invite all audience for the photo, and also may we also invite all our audience here to switch on a camera to take a photo with everyone on site and also online then. Thank you so much.
好嗱，望望呢邊啊，預備嘅，好嗱，嚟到張嘅預備嘅，好，跟住可以站好或者被係啦，好就嚟啊，好嗱，跟住望望右邊，好，大家望望3、2、1，同埋張3、2、1，好，仲有一步。
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. No,我再講。OK。
好，望住呢個啊，3、2、1就一齊遞起就大家。3、2、1。OK，
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for the photo. And once again, thank you, Professor McDonald, for joining us today. So we're so honored to have you here. So good afternoon, I should say, like in Australia, it should be in the afternoon. And also good afternoon and maybe good evening to some people online. Okay, and good morning to some then. Thank you so much. Now, may we invite Professor McDonald to share, the keynote speech. But before that, once again, if you want to ask any questions, please type in the good chat. Then we will be inviting Professor McDonald to give the answers to you at the end Q&A section. Thank you so much. May we invite Professor McDonald to the virtual stage. Welcome, Professor McDonald.
Hello, and thank you very much. I'd just like to thank Dr. Amelia Lee for her very kind words of introduction, and also acknowledge the really excellent and thought-provoking keynote presented by Professor Emeritus Datuk, Dr. Osman Bakar. I'd also just very briefly like to thank the organising team for all of the hard work that they've put in bringing this all together for what I'm sure is going to be a really interesting and thought-provoking 2 days. As is the common practice in Australia, I would like to begin that by acknowledging the country on which I'm sitting. For me, where I'm located at the moment, in the part of Melbourne I'm located, and also the 4 campuses, or the 4 Australian campuses of Monash University. They're located on the unceded lands of the Wurundjeri and Boonwurrung people of the Kulin Nations, part of Australia's First Peoples, and I pay my respects to their elders past and present, and I also extend my respects if there are any Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander colleagues on the call today. Okay, so I wanted to talk today a little bit about the concept of cultural literacy and what that offers us in terms of building our future-ready graduates, and also give a couple of examples of where virtual environments have been created underpinned by the tenets of cultural literacy and what kind of offer that has given to our students. For our students, and indeed we ourselves, have never lived in an age when it was not in flux. Change, as we know it, is a constant, and Dr. Bakar was talking about the global megatrends we're currently seeing around climate change, forced and voluntary migration, all types of conflict. So this change is constantly occurring, but how we have experienced change as we move into the 21st century has shifted. And thanks to advances in communication and technology, We now have the capacity to situate ourselves within an ever-shifting global landscape with more accuracy and awareness than ever before. So when we're looking at preparing interculturally capable graduates that are ready for the future, many of our higher education institutions have a tendency to fall back on traditional mobility and exchange programs. And while those programs undoubtedly have a place, we need to do much more, and we need to think beyond these traditional models, not just for our curriculum, but also the ways in which our students can be in an interconnected environment that supports the possibilities of intercultural growth and future leadership. As higher education communities, we have a responsibility to expand the ways we approach this challenge, recognising that it is up to us to bring together curriculum innovation, co-curricular initiatives, intercultural learning, digital fluency, and the integration of global perspectives, opportunities, and industry engagement throughout university life. In the little time we have together today, I would like to introduce the opportunity that the concept of cultural literacy offers higher education in terms of giving our students the skill necessary to make meaning and navigate the unknown when faced with a situation of difference. Developing the tools to flourish in destabilising environments, working through interdisciplinarity, trusting our students, connecting with industry, enables us to build the transformative learning environments and experiences necessary to meet our promise to our future graduates. While the term cultural literacy was first coined by Edward Hirsch in his article Culture and Literacy in 1980 and subsequently used in his famous book Cultural Literacy, What Every American Needs to Know in 1987, in recent years, scholars have adopted this term but shifted it away from the inherently nationalistic qualities and calls for a type of standardization of culture and cultural understanding promulgated by Hirsch. In its present iteration, cultural literacy draws on the skills inherent in literary and cultural studies and sees cultures and cultural artifacts as text-like, readable objects that are created and used by individuals and societies to interpret the world. Anything imbued with meaning can be considered a cultural artifact, from abstract ideologies to a very tangible handshake, a building, or a book. An approach that acknowledges the text-like nature of a cultural artifact, by definition, also presupposes its readability. Thus, fields of knowledge, historical and political events, social interactions, and any other manifestation of culture can be considered readable. Cultural literacy encompasses skills that promote communication, comparison and critique, bringing ideas together in an interdisciplinary and international collaboration, with a constant aim to understand and promote the richness of difference, whether it be cultural, in terms of ethnogeographic customs, disciplinary, or industry and sector differences. These kinds of difference often constitute a disabling factor in any kind of interaction, including those in educational contexts. And while destabilization can cause discomfort, it is a key element in the process of developing the skills of cultural literacy in learners. My colleagues in High have defined destabilization as an education strategy that results in both a conceptual shift in students and a more instinctive, visceral form of unrest that is aimed at unsettling their views on culture, identity, and the world at large. It is a liminal stage in the learning process when students have already encountered the unknown without fully assimilating the implications of the learning experience, and as a consequence find themselves in an ambiguous state with certain unresolved tensions regarding their views and what these imply. In essence, it is an instance of cognitive dissonance. The goal of destabilization is to help students understand how they approach both conceptually and empirically what they do not know. That they become aware of the ways in which they react to uncertainty and the instability of new situations in order to prompt introspection at a very fundamental level. By using destabilisation as an educative tool, educators are able to provide students with a safe space where they can question themselves so they may gain a better understanding of who they are and of their ever-shifting personal and professional context. Destabilisation for us can occur across a spectrum, from mild discomfort arising from being unsure in the learning environment to a deeper visceral unsettling that can occur when students are confronted with aspects of their own identity, worldview, or core values. Destabilisation in and of itself is not sufficient for a meaningful learning experience. Like many things in much of the research, we understand that it must be paired with a process of reflection. Reflection is a crucial component in the process of developing cultural readability. It is by means of reflection that students challenge their preconceived ideas and prior learning. It is also through reflection that they question themselves in relation to their discipline, which in the long run is a vital skill for any professional, the ability to ask oneself, how is this experience relevant to me as a person and a practitioner? What can I learn from it? And if the initial answers are, it isn't relevant, or I can't learn anything from this, why is that the case? What does that say about me and my ability to perform within and learn from certain situations? It is through the process of critical reflection that individuals can develop the cognitive tools to consciously read cultures, to create coherency, to enact their literacy when faced with situations with which they are unfamiliar or that challenge their prior knowledge. It allows students to reposition themselves in relation to their new readings of an encounter with difference, which make it a crucial component in our approach to cultural literacy. It is really the cultivation of a modus operandi for meaning making in any situation. And when I was listening to Dr. Bakar, some of the things that he was saying really kind of resonated with this view in terms of leadership, or an intercultural leadership being developed and with a focus on a collective well-being and set of ethical frameworks to know and understand the world and to care for it. Which I thought resonated quite strongly with this notion of how you can develop cultural literacy. But I guess I can ask the question very directly. So why is this important, and what role can it play in today's university? And how does it support us to meet the demands of our future graduates? As I stated at the beginning, the development of graduates that are culturally competent, globally networked and industry linked cannot happen if we fall into the trap of presupposing this will just simply happen through patterns of traditional mobility alone. We have a responsibility to embed a global orientation in all that we do, and cultural literacy offers a skill set for enabling this type of capability without displacing disciplinary needs. To illustrate the possibilities of cultural literacy, I would like to present two examples that look at the development of cultural intelligence, understood not just as an ethnogeographic construct, but as an ability to navigate disciplinary and sector differences to enhance both professional and personal outcomes from a learning experience. In both cases, the learning environment is virtual, and there has been a conscious effort to give students the tools they need to manage an experience that emphasises difference. At their heart, these are destabilising experiences. They have been structured to maximise learning and to turn an educational encounter into a transformational experience. So, although it might seem slightly incongruous, given that we are at a global virtual exchange summit, I'm just going to speak very briefly about an initiative that we had put in place at Monash University is based on physical mobility. And there is a reason for this. So if you just bear with me for one moment, the program I'm referring to is called the Global Immersion Guarantee. It is commonly referred to inside the university as GIG. This example demonstrates, or a relationship to this example demonstrates how an unplanned pivot set up an opportunity to explore a virtual initiative which came to be valued in its own right for the particular affordances it offered. So the Global Immersion Guarantee was set up in 2018 at Monash University. It's an opportunity for students to take part in a two-week immersion program at the end of their first year. So for us in Australia, that's in the summer between first and second year. It's a guarantee in that if you are in an eligible degree, 92 of 112 degrees are eligible, you have a WAM of 50, so you've got a pass grade overall at the end of your first semester, and you are 18 years old at the time of the program, we will guarantee you a place. And this summer we'll be sending out around 3,000 students for a mobility experience, and we cover the costs. So all the flights, airfares, accommodation, all of the on-the-ground travel related to the program, and most meals are covered for the students. They just need to have enough money to have meals, some meals and incidentals. It's been a great program, but you might ask, why am I going on this tangent talking about a physical mobility program? So this program in 2018, still going now, was a core part of our mobility focus. It was building a curriculum designed to embed and develop cultural competency, giving students the opportunity to work together in cross-disciplinary teams, and engaging students with a range of university, government, non-governmental, industry and community-based actors. And recognising that the financial support we offered, while not ameliorating all barriers for students, it would make a significant contribution for many of our students who otherwise could not partake in an international experience. And then, probably unsurprisingly, I'm about to say that the COVID pandemic hit, and along with all of its associated challenges for universities and student life overall. And of course, it completely wiped out any possibility for physical mobility. However, instead of abandoning our commitment both to our partners and countries and to our students, we looked to see what was possible. But I will admit, I will go on to correct myself, but I will admit in this very early stage, we viewed this attempt to pivot as a stopgap before we could return to physical mobility. What we were to go on to discover was a different medium to achieve our aims, and that would extend past the limitations placed on us by the pandemic. And so the example I want to talk about is a program called Social Enterprise Challenge in the Indo-Pacific. This program was developed by Bodine Hedwards, Dr. Bodine Hedwards, who had also developed the GIG program. And it's a 3-week virtual initiative that gives students a hands-on experience establishing a social enterprise. Understanding the need to embed students' ability to work across cultures, understood in the broader sense, the program integrated these wider skills whilst building an experience based on the principles of design thinking, frugal innovation, and rapid prototyping. Students worked in cross-cultural interdisciplinary teams, undertaking an intensive incubator program where they were pushed to create tangible solutions related to the UN Sustainable Development Goals. The program aimed to mobilise a generation of innovative, globally focused and culturally aware students that can work across sectors to shape our world in the future. And since its launch in January 21, students from over 10 different countries have participated in the CKIP program. Because the focus was on interdisciplinarity, students are studying one of over 60 different undergraduate and postgraduate coursework degrees from across the STEM and humanity fields. Each team was curated to include students from different universities, disciplines, and cultural backgrounds as a way to shift the dial on the way that young people collaborate, share, and build solutions in an increasingly virtual world. The accessibility inclusivity offered by the program in its virtual and its virtual form was unprecedented, and approximately 60% of participants were young women, and over 50% of the Australian cohort alone were from low socioeconomic backgrounds. So giving, sectors and cohorts in our population who often don't, for a range of reasons, some of them financial, but it's not exclusively financial. There are caring responsibilities and a whole range of other responsibilities mean that they hold a smaller proportion of traditional mobility programs. The virtual nature of the program meant that students can participate regardless of where they are in the world, providing an opportunity for students who would not usually participate. In the virtual environment, students attend parallel panel discussions to learn from business, government, and non-government leaders. They participate in hands-on skills bazaars virtually and work with leading industry and alumni mentors from around the world. As you'll all know, the affordance of a virtual opportunity means that alumni that sit in very different places and very different time zones can still be part of a program like this. And they work to better understand contemporary challenges, develop and test their ideas and assumptions, and then make, break, and recreate solutions. The program normalizes entrepreneurial experiences in the 21st century. The need for digital skills and digital collaboration for all students, regardless of discipline or longer-term career goals. And it embeds them in a virtual ecosystem of leaders, both in their home country and across the Indo-Pacific region. While the program was developed with the idea that it would bridge a gap caused by the pandemic, it did much more than that. The success of the program and the breadth of the opportunity offered, including students that for numerous reasons cannot access other forms of mobility or industry-based experiences. Through repeated experiences of destabilisation and reflection, CKIP enabled students to build their cultural literacy capability, accepting that while the digital format added layers to the sense of destabilisation that students needed to work through, it also offered opportunities for students to harness and shape their own experiences. The second example is not unrelated, but it is co-curricular, which gives it a particular place in the opportunities for mobility given our students. The program is called Teamwork, and it's a 4-week virtual co-curricular internship program that brings together second-year students and above from any faculty or discipline, including masters and PhD students. It also brings together industry partners from across the globe, as well as coaches, to work on collaborative projects. The program is designed to allow students to develop their collaboration and innovation skills, along with other transferable skills such as teamwork, as the name suggests, leadership and communication. Ultimately, the program aims to enhance student employability, global outlook, and networking skills by working with industry and peers from culturally diverse backgrounds. The program has grown and now has between 500 to 600 student participants annually across Australia, Malaysia, and the UK, along with around 75 industry partners at each iteration. The top 3 reasons students apply to Teamwork included an active desire to enhance their professional and personal development, to broaden their international experience, and to improve their employability skills. And the highest student confidence growth was seen in employability skills of initiative and enterprise, 32% growth there, creativity and innovation, 27% growth, and communication, 23% growth. I'm referring to the 2024 data and numbers on that. 95% of students agreed or strongly agreed that their experience in teamwork broadened their international exposure. So that's important for us because it is not a cursory connection in a virtual ecosystem, but it's actively felt and understood by the participants to actually give them a valuable international experience. And 90% of students agreed or strongly agreed that teamwork enhanced their professional and personal development. So through team-based industry projects, Teamwork connects students across cultures and industries, requiring them to navigate not only their cultural and disciplinary differences and ways of working, but also placing them in an environment where project buy-in may not be equal. So when the project I was referring to with CKIP, the Social Enterprise Challenge, that's an in-curriculum option. Teamwork is a co-curricular option. And because the program sits in the co-curricular space, the inherent grade-related motivation to complete tasks on time and commit to your team that can be found, admittedly not always, but more readily in the in-curriculum space, has to be created through the building of relationships across the team and with the partner. A deeper understanding of personal motivation, getting to know and understand your team and what drives them adds an additional layer to the complexity of destabilisation. creating an environment where students feel that they belong and have a valued role, along with supporting them to develop the skills required to negotiate the rules of engagement, becomes essential for successful outcomes in this co-curricular space. In each of these examples, students are given a set of tools they can deploy, not to just work effectively in teams, but to work effectively in cross-cultural, interdisciplinary teams that are working in unison on a challenge. In all cases, students need to lead on practicalities such as negotiating time zones, different ways of working, disciplinary and sector differences, to read and understand each other and build a path towards a common goal. These examples bring together not just an opportunity of a virtual exchange, an opportunity to connect with others, but require students to build an understanding of a challenge and to bring together the affordances of cultural, disciplinary and sector differences to achieve an effective outcome for their industry or community partner. In both examples, the virtual experience is enhanced, from the intentionality and purposefulness in the design of the learning experience. Both cases extend far beyond adding a virtual element to a face-to-face experience. Rather, through the process of reconceptualizing the experience and understanding the skills needed to create success in intercultural, interdisciplinary teams and in global industry context, the programs nurture a virtual ecosystem that offers both a sustainable and scalable model of industry-connected, intercultural and interdisciplinary learning. So understanding cultural literacy and its broadest application supports educators to activate core competencies for future-ready graduates. It requires intentional curriculum design, reflective practice, and opportunities for meaningful intercultural engagement. And as educators and institutional leaders, we need to ask ourselves, can we or should we embed cultural literacy into the fabric of our universities? Thank you.
Thank you so much for the inspiring presentation from Professor Sarah McDonald. So thank you so much. We also echo to that, wish that our also senior management also, list that, and we will also have more things like coming in. So thank you so much. Now we're open the floor for questions. Please feel free to propose your questions. We welcome questions online and also on site. So if there's any questions, that please, you can raise your virtual hand, or maybe it's anyone that on site would like to ask questions. We're happy to. Can we invite you to come in? Because it's, we need to hear by the global audience. And thank you.
Hello. This one. Hi. Hello.
Hi.
Hi, Professor McDonald. Thank you so much for the very thought-provoking sharing. Well, I deeply appreciate what you share about the development of hybrid mode in the post-pandemic era, how to nurture experiential learning. I think we all benefit from the digital world. For the very obvious example we are talking right now, this is a very well-organized summit by Anna and her colleagues. At the same time, I think I need to humbly admit that I come from a generation of digital immigrants. So while the young adults, they are digital locals, they are born with, IG, they're born with threats and everything. We got to learn those new stuff and to equip them. May not be directly related to what you mentioned, but I think one of the key themes you have been mentioning is the appreciation of differences in this culture diverse world. One of the problems when I encounter my young adults in university, I always discover is the problem of digital bias. So we all know, Mark Zuckerberg, he admitted that already. When he developed Facebook and IG, what he intended is not to, reflect truth, but trying to, making us more, I should not use that term, but he mentioned that, being more addicted to the social media because they want us to fit ourselves with reinforcement. And on that regard, it is very obvious that this is, consolidating existing thoughts rather than diversifying ideas in our young generation and making them appreciate new ideas. So I don't think we have a simple answer for the challenge, but I really wish to learn from your 2 cents here, or your wisdom as a very experienced educator in culture diversification. What can we do, and how should we handle it as a higher educator here? Thank you.
Thank you, and you're right. You have posed a very difficult question, but I think it is really a very important one. So I thank you for raising it. I don't have an absolute answer to this, but one thing I think we have to remember, and the thing that we need to try and keep front of mind, is that our students are who they are, and they're engaging in a world that is totally different from my lofty age-based heights, very different to the one that I encountered. So knowledge for them in some ways is not something that is held by an individual or something they can only access in one way. But as we know, there are dangers to how that knowledge promulgates itself through the inherent biases that come about at a whole range of levels: cultural, ethnic, in terms of gender representation. What our role, I believe, is to really challenge our students to work in a more critical, collaborative way with technology. I am not a fan, I will admit, to banning access to technology, AI, for example, or any other tool, because our students are using this whether we like it or not. And you're right, for us, we are far behind the instinctive ways they engage with technology. Well, I can say I am far behind. I don't know about everybody else, but I am definitely far behind. But banning or limiting use, not limiting use, that could take me down a whole different road, but banning access to tools and that doesn't mean it doesn't get used. It just gets pushed underground. We need our young people to be engaging and influencing those tools and how they're built and the ethics behind them. And I think our approach has to be about engagement, understanding and valuing where our young people are, how they acquire knowledge and how they deploy that knowledge. But it is our responsibility to work with them on the critical elements of that, critiquing both in terms of thought and challenging answers, but also really understanding how information is curated and displayed and the really dangerous challenges that can pose, but what is their role in combating that? Because in reality, I will not be the person combating that. They are going to be dealing with a much more fast advancing way of engaging with knowledge and the dissemination of knowledge than we are. And we have to, it is our responsibility when we think about future leaders and future ready graduates, that they are able to work with the technology and also work to better it.
I totally concur with you, Professor McDonald. I just want to say thank you so much for sparing your time. And well, we people here at HKB will benefit from your university. We have a lot of students studying at your Master of Counseling program from Monash.
Oh, fantastic.
We've got an extending arm in Hong Kong too. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Great.
See you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Professor McDonald, and also thank you, Terence, for the question. Then we also have some more questions you can see also in the audience as well as from online then. So maybe we answer one from online first.
Sure.
Then we see that Eugenio is like asking a question. Would you like to ask a question directly from yourself? Hello.
Sure.
Yeah, welcome.
Sure. Hello. Hello. Good morning, everybody, and thanks, Sarah, for wonderful presentation. Very, very needed in today's world, really. We're not just dealing with domestic and global cultures when we talk about digital. When we talk about cultural literacy, we also talk about digital cultures. And so my question is, are there ways, or in what ways should we address cultural literacy education programs that would address also the needs, norms, values, behaviors of digital subcultures alongside existing, especially influencing our new generation today? In fact, they're probably more influential. Digital subculture is probably more influential than domestic cultures and global cultures. So, how do we address that?
Yeah. So the idea or the concept of cultural literacy, although it was first and even in the initial parts of the 21st century has really been applied primarily to kind of ethnic or geographical understandings of culture, it has been pulled out to apply to disciplinary cultures, the way that someone in a humanities department and the way that someone in an engineering department can come together and build meaning across their very fundamentally different ways of being and engaging with the world. So the format, the framework, the way of operating, of understanding and reading that difference can be applied to anything that we would consider to be a recognizable culture, whether that's a subculture, a digital culture, or any context. So it's about deploying that framework in ways that are useful and helpful to manage and understanding a difference across those subcultures. I would think of that as addressing what you say. Those behaviors and values are multiplying, as you say. So we have large understandings of stereotypes that sit around cultures, including disciplinary and business cultures. But you're right, those are fragmenting down into other types of ways of connection and creating subgroups with sets of values, behaviors, understandings, and views of the world that are connected in a digital space, that aren't bounded by geography, and come together around a whole range of things. The ways of understanding and engaging with that would still be the framework is still the same. It's the application of that. Within higher education, I think it's really, in my view, absolutely important to not limit what we mean by culture and really understand it in the broadest sense, so that these are skills that aren't even about addressing one particular issue at one particular time, that they become so embedded into curriculum, into our ways of being, our ways of understanding the world, that it's just a part of how you conduct yourself, how you operate in the world. So there, in that case, the subcultures or their existence, in theory, practice might be different, but in theory shouldn't matter if your modus operandi, if your way of being and engaging in the world is framed by this sense of learning how to manage and create meaning when you're confronted with something that's very different to you or how you understand or see the world. In pragmatic sense, we're very far away from that at the moment, because these things, especially, and I'm assuming that you probably know much more about digital subcultures than I do, so you might be able to respond to this as well, but can sit in places that are less seen, can have lots of members, but can sit in places that are less seen and less known and and therefore less understood. And people don't necessarily engage with those subcultures if they're not a part of them, because the idea of cultural literacy is engaging with that difference. Engaging in that moment where you don't feel like you understand what's happening or what's going on or what are the rationales behind decisions or that, and being able to understand and draw meaning from that so that you can work effectively. So I'm kind of throwing the question back to you, Dick. Sorry.
No problem. Well, it's a problem. It's a concern that we all need to address. Like,
Yeah.
my kids are no longer as Filipino as I think they should. They
Yeah.
belong to a different culture entirely. My son calls me bro.
Yeah, my daughter calls me bruh as well, if that makes you feel any better. You're right. It is we are dealing with a very different world. But the other thing is that I see in my experience anyway, with young people at university, undergraduate students, they are smart. They understand a lot about the world and they're quite values driven and committed. So we have to remember that while they engage with the world in a very different way to the ways we do, they are also bringing a level of knowledge and exposure culturally and globally that I, for example, just did not have growing up in New Zealand in the 70s and 80s. They have an understanding of the world, not always correct, not always on, they need to learn to navigate it and learn, but they do have a global understanding and a desire to understand at a broader level than perhaps we, or at least I, did at their age.
Thank you so much. So because time is running short, we can accommodate for a short question from the audience. So may we ask if anyone wants to ask? Oh, we have one from the audience, and thank you. Please, Alice.
Hi, Professor. This is Alice from Nursing.
Oh.
An experience that when students tend to open the camera during the activity, they tend to be feeling more confidence and attractive, and then turn out it sounds more like a speed dating. So I want to ask you for a very pragmatic approach. We encourage people to turn on the camera, but should there be some practical tips that we can set the ground rules up front? Say what we did is at least we asked them, during this topic discussion, a period of that 2 weeks, try not to use other means to communicate except to use the Hong Kong Baptist U or your university email. Okay.
Yeah.
Would that be too cruel to ask them to do that? Or do you have any other means that is practical to suggest? Please advise.
So thank you very much. I got the last part of the question, but when I think they put the microphone on you, you were silent for a little bit. So what was the context of trying to get them to interact?
Let's be general so that all other disciplines can apply.
Yeah.
Let's say it's talking about celebrating a birthday in different parts of the world. Let's yes, share the example.
Oh, about how we get students to engage with that and collectively use a platform, and when they're using the video in the virtual space to keep their screens on. Yeah. Look, it is, I think that was a challenge that we lost a little bit in COVID, but I do think that in my experience with things that are designed to be virtual, that are designed with the intention and people are actively signing up to be part of a virtual environment, in the programs I mentioned, you're not allowed to have your camera off unless there is a particular, like, say you're ill or something and you're joining from, a state of illness, but people don't have their camera off because they've signed up for it. That's part of the code that they agree to when they do it. We don't restrict there's platforms that they use for assessment, for coming together. We give them the platforms that we want them to collaborate in, and it's in their interest to use that collaboration tool because we can see what they've done. But we don't actually restrict them using other forms of like WeChat or WhatsApp or Slack or whatever the other things are. I'm going to make myself sound really old, and it's like Snapchat or whatever, to communicate, if that's a way of creating that natural conversation for them. What I've noted, this is anecdotal, not empirical or research based or proved in any way. It might be by someone else, but not by me. Young people today increasingly, you may see this as well, they don't talk to each other on the phone, for example. They text or they use voice messages, which is something I really don't get, because if you're going to use a voice message, why not just call? But anyway, they don't. There is a different, and they're quite offended if you call them. because they're like, why are you calling me? Just send me a message and ask if I'm free for you to call me. So it's their way of communicating is different to ours. What I think as educators we have to be careful of, and I use this example sometimes, it's easy to think of their way of communicating as not good or as less good than the way that we would like them to communicate. And we have to be careful not to fall into a trap that people have fallen in for generations. You know, when rock and roll came about and Elvis Presley was swinging his hips all over the place, you know, there were generations in their 40s and 50s, leagues of parents who thought it was, you know, the end of the world, that rock and roll was going to lead to the degradation of society. And even though that's funny now, at the time it was something that was actively believed. When I was not an undergrad, when I was a postgrad, I can remember you know, when we first could search on the internet, that being banned by my professors. You're not allowed to go on the internet. It's because you have to go to an archive and you have to bury yourself in the archive, and that's the way that you can do things. So there are things moving, and much like Dick's question, at a rate and a pace that we are not ready or prepared for, and at a rate and a pace that is much faster. But it is our jobs, I believe anyway, to figure out where those points of connection are and how we can develop the critical skills they need to view what is valuable. And if no student views that what we're doing is valuable, then we need to think about what we're doing.
All right, better design valuable things, critical thinking.
Sorry, it's a tough one. It's tough for all of us. So it's definitely not just you.
All right, got it. Thank you, Professor.
No, thank you so much for all the questions and also for the enlightening, sharing from Professor McDonald. So thank you once again for Sir McDonald, Professor McDonald, to share the very nice presentation and also answer different questions, very challenging, some of them. So also we now very value our opinions from our global audience. So we invite you to also share us your feedback. And there's also the links, and we're showing you a QR code soon about the feedback form. So please don't forget to leave your COIL requests if you want to work out with other different partners in the world. So we sincerely thank you so much for your participation. 3 parallel sections, including quality intercultural education for future-ready graduates, digital competencies for future leaders, and global citizenship in interconnected world will start shortly after the break. So we will run parallel very soon. So once again, we would like to sincerely thank Professor Sarah McDonald for joining us today. And also thank you all for participating in the keynote sections. Thank you. We'll see you soon in panels.